It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
Welcome into the Sittin Sportside podcast. I'm Eric Hanneman, and this is going to be a brief podcast. We're keeping it under 10 minutes. I promise you that. We're going to do a quick thing of my bracket. If you care, continue to stay here on 1045theteam.com and the free 1045 The Team app. I'm going to go over my bracket really quick and just over where I have teams, who I have winning overall, some updates that I have, just in general. I'll keep, like I said, under 10 minutes. If you care about my bracket, fantastic. Continue to listen. If you don't give a crap, I appreciate you tuning in for this. And they're gone. Anyway, here we go to the start. I think I read something that it was about 50% of people who fill out a bracket have Duke as a champion. I mean, that's warranted. Let me start in the East region. It's a pretty pedestrian East region for me, except for when it comes to actually the Duke Blue Devils. I think the Belmont can be the team. As we know, in case you didn't know, actually, every time since the initiation or the first year of the first four, a team from that first four getting in, and we're not talking about the 16 seeds when it was that. It was one of the first four, so now you have the 11 seeds, and at some point it was like a 14 and 12. Like they mix it up now. It's usually just the 11 seeds. At least one of those teams has won at least one tournament game. Of course, you have VCU making the Final Four. You have a couple of them, like I believe LaSalle. It was the Sweet 16 team last year, I believe. A Syracuse team was the Sweet 16 team. I think when you compare Belmont and Arizona State, I think the possibility are both there to win the game, but I would pick Belmont. I think they're a popular pick. I think they're a team that could make it to the Sweet 16, if not to the Elite 8. But I don't have that in my main bracket. Like I have a few brackets that I'm doing, that I'm submitting. But in terms of bracket of integrity, that is this bracket that I'm going over right now that I call my quote-unquote bracket of integrity. And actually, look at this. My main upset in the East region is actually Duke losing. If you remember, or if you saw, I did a bold predictions going into 2019. A couple of those are already not looking too good, including like Didi Gregorius playing before, around in May. Oladipo's out for the year, so them getting to the championship game, the final NBA Finals is very slim. But I also had in there too that Duke would not make the Elite 8. And a lot of people were like, maybe that's not bold enough. Like the bold thing would be like they don't make the Sweet 16. I think it's pretty bold for anyone saying that this Duke team, 50% of teams or people picking their brackets picked the Blue Devils. So I think it's pretty bold to say they're not going to make the Elite 8, let alone people saying they're not going to make the Final Four. Well, I don't have them in my bracket of integrity making the Final Four. I don't have them making the Elite 8 either. I'm sticking with that quote-unquote bold prediction. I consider it bold still, like I said. And I actually have them losing to fellow ACC opponent, the Virginia Tech Hokies. Look, I do think that it's hard to imagine this team actually getting it. Like Nicola Alexander-Walker and Justin Robinson. I think the biggest thing is Robinson's back on this team, right? He's ready to go. And how they fared against Duke this season, they beat them once in their only matchup. So that is something that they can hang their hats on. Problem is, Zion Williamson did not play in that game for Duke, but I like this Virginia Tech team to be a play spoiler. I think the fact that you're facing an ACC foe that early into the tournament doesn't help you. So I have Virginia Tech as my big upset. Michigan State coming out of there in my Final Four. I like what they have. They're a really scrappy team. They're a team. Izzo always comes out with a team there, and I have a lot of confidence in Cassius Winston to be the playmaker there, the one that gets the job done when they need him to. All right, quickly, let's move on to the South region. A team that I'm really liking over there is Oregon. I think that Oregon has been very, very good. They're one of the hottest teams in all of basketball. I know you're saying, who did they beat? They beat other Pac-12 teams with a high seed from that conference, and winning your conference in regular season, Washington only got a 9 seed. But I think Oregon is actually a team that I'm very, very high on. They're doing really well. I think Dana Altman has his team ready to go in the playoffs, so I'm all over this team that's not going to have their quote-unquote best player in Bowl. Like they've recovered, and they're looking really, really good. I expect this team actually to make a run. I have them beating Virginia in the Sweet 16 to get to the Elite 8. Another crazy, if you will, Elite 8 team. But I have Tennessee overall making it. Another upset from this region that I have is out of the West Coast Conference. I think St. Mary's is going to take that win over Gonzaga and take it all the way to the Sweet 16, beating Villanova and Purdue in my bracket. Tennessee in the Final Four from there. you might think the Oregon pick is crazy, but when you see some hot teams, remember Michigan a couple years ago, and then even last year, like their hot team going into it. I know you're talking about a different conference. You're talking about a really good Big Ten conference and a really pedestrian Pac-12, but I think Oregon is definitely going to be a surprise team. Let's go to the Midwest. I have North Carolina coming out of the Midwest. I think it's pretty straightforward. The only low seed I have winning in the top half of that bracket is Washington, and that was the 9 over the 8. Other than that, I have Kansas and Auburn facing, and Kansas being able to win it over. I know it's going to be tough. They're so banged up. Kansas, Gerald Vick no longer playing for them. So, but I think this North Carolina team is really, really good, led by Kobe White, and then the veteran presences of guys like Luke May. So I really like this North Carolina team to get to the Elite Eight against Kentucky. A team that I like, though, of course, and I think a lot of people should like this team too, is Iowa State. Mariel Shayok, I think, is going to do a really good job for this team. I think they're going to beat Houston in the second round games, and Kentucky will get to the Elite Eight and beat Iowa State, but they have a lot of good older veteran type players led by Mariel Shayok that transfer from Virginia. So I really, really like Iowa State in this tournament. And they could possibly beat Kentucky too. They could be a surprise Final Four team, honestly. Don't be surprised if that happens. But I have North Carolina beating Kentucky in the Elite Eight there. Another North Carolina-Kentucky matchup. Probably the best game of the tournament. I'll go out on a limb and say it. Unless UNC and Duke meet in the finals, it's probably going to be the best game of the tournament, Kentucky versus North Carolina. Moving over to the West Conference, I think this is one of the more interesting ones because there's not a clear-cut favorite, in my opinion. I think Michigan actually got a little bit lucky here, but I kind of, they got some pretty good seedings, Michigan did, but I'm not sold on the fact that Michigan can continue like for 3 straight years do as they did. Like they got to the final last year. Before that, they got really far in the tournament. When they lost the jerseys or whatever, like because of the whole flight thing that happened, and when they won their conference tournament then too. And even though they lost in the final to Michigan State, they're still really good. Like I had a feeling like if they had won that tournament, I would have had this feeling even more. But I still have this feeling that this is a team that could possibly lose early. So there's that Nevada-Florida game. I think Nevada could beat them. I think Florida could. Whoever wins that game, I think will have a good chance of beating Michigan. But what I have right now is I still have Michigan going to the Elite Eight. I think Buffalo's a good team. I have Buffalo beating Texas Tech, but I have Texas Tech actually as a surprise team in one of my other brackets. I think they're a team that can get to the Final Four, no doubt about it. But right now I have Michigan and Buffalo playing in the Sweet 16. With Michigan winning that game, but Buffalo's a team. They have some big boys that can play in Buffalo. So SUNY School being able to get to the Sweet 16, I like it. They've been a Cinderella type team all year, so you can't really put the Cinderella label on them. But I really like their chances of being a team that's, I don't know if surprises, but probably surprises to the masses. The casual quote unquote fans. The top of the bracket is I really like Syracuse. I think Syracuse, even though Frank Howard just surprisingly he's not playing, I can't believe that's gonna happen, but. I like Syracuse with the zone in the tournament. It just works. And even though Gonzaga is probably so much more talented than them, I think the upset is coming from Syracuse over Gonzaga. The zone gives Gonzaga fits. We know it in the past. They had a big win some time ago against them in the tournament. So I like Syracuse actually to get to the Sweet 16. And a team that I think people are sleeping on because of their first round matchup is Marquette. Look, John Morant is a fantastic player, and this is the first round matchup you want to watch. Marquette, Murray State. You got Marcus Howard and John Morant, two of the best players in the entire country, going up again in the first round. But I think so many people are caught up on the NBA potential of a guy like John Morant that they're just looking at, okay, the Murray State's going to be the upset pick, the favorite upset pick. They're sleeping on what Marquette could do. Florida State's a really good team too. I think that this is really hard, like 13 and 12 seeds, because Vermont is a really good team. We already know that in the America East. So I think Anthony Lamb, also an NBA type player, is going to be really, really good in that game. I actually have Vermont beating Florida State, Marquette beating Murray State, and Marquette actually getting to the Final Four here. I have them getting to the Sweet 16, beating Syracuse, then beating Michigan in the Elite Eight. So I like the Marquette and Marcus Howard. I think this is a team that people are kind of counting out because Marcus Howard hurt his wrist. People are like, I don't know if I can really trust this Marquette team. They're going to go up against John Morant. Oh, John Morant's probably a better player, but the better team. They can really shoot it from outside. You add the fact that Marcus Howard is ready to go. Like, he's geared up, ready to go, and he shows up in this tournament. I think he's going to do wonders in the tournament, and they're not only going to beat Murray State, but they're going to go on into the Sweet 16, in my opinion, and then we'll go from there to the Final Four, because I just look at this team. I said, this is a team that can really shoot threes, and they have a really good score, but, they have the top dog, and then other guys that can put the ball in the hoop. That's a quality. That's a strategy for success. And even though Florida State has a lot of good players, I do like Florida State getting there. And a couple of my other brackets, I do think Gonzaga is in a little bit of trouble here because of that. But Marquette, in my bracket of integrity, I have them getting to the Final Four, where they'll lose to Michigan State. I got North Carolina beating Tennessee, and then the overall another championship for Roy Williams, getting close, if not evening him up, right, with Coach K. He might be one away after this, or it might be tied. I don't know that off the top of my head here. But give it to me with Kobe White, Luke May, and this team getting it done in the final. I like North Carolina over Michigan State. That's my bracket. If you want to share your Final Four picks with me, tweet at me at EricH1045. I appreciate it. Enjoy all the games. This is the best time of the year, so you got to enjoy this Thursday, today, and Friday. And then even this weekend, it's good. You have the good, on Saturday and Sunday, you had the 12 and then the 2, and then even more madness later on in the day. So it's not only a great Thursday and Friday. Like, I almost argue, like, which day do I like better, the Thursday and the Friday or the Saturday and the Sunday, where you get the individual games at 12 and then the one right after it, and then you still have the madness at night? Or do I like it when it's all madness all day all the time? I like them both. I do like them both. This is probably the best 4 days of college basketball. Even though like the better games kind of happen the following weekend, this is still the best weekend of the NCAA tournament, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to them. You guys enjoy your games. And then if you hate my picks, and a week from now you're looking back and like, look at that idiot putting Marquette there. They lost to John Morant. You can tweet at me still. I'll take the hate at EricH1045. Don't forget to join us for Sittin Sportside Sunday beginning on March 31st. We're on every Sunday starting then at 11 a.m. Thanks to DeAndrea's Pizza. So thank DeAndrea's Pizza. Find them on their website. That's www.deandrespizza.com. Find all the information there. They're located on 33 Caroline Street in Saratoga Springs and 645 Route 9 in Gansevoort. Once again, enjoy the tournament. I'm Eric Cannon for the Sittin Sportside Podcast. Thank you for Sittin Sportside on the special edition of the Sittin Sportside Podcast on 1045theteam.com.